It's 9 minutes to the top of the hour of the Rick and Bubba Show. 866-WE-BE-BIG is our number. This hour, celebrity co-host Taylor Hicks with us today. Back in town, checking in. He has open door here at the show to come hang out whenever he wants to.
I appreciate that.
No, it's no problem. How about I saw you at the historic Alabama Theater? And when you cranked this, did a little cover of Supertramp, Long Way Home. That was really cool.
Well, that's the first.
As I played Chris Farley, remember you used to do the interviews?
Yeah.
You remember that time you played Supertramp?
Remember that time?
Remember that time at Alabama Theater you played Supertramp? That was awesome. The funniest ones when Chris Farley asked Paul McCartney, "You remember when you were in the Beatles?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "That was awesome." And then he get mad at himself, and goes, "Stupid question." So have you played so many shows though at this point? Or, I mean,
do they run together?
Are there any that really stand out to you, or are they all one big mesh now?
My shows. I've done. I did 585 Broadway shows.
Good gracious!
In a row. They had to run together.
18 months.
Did you even know what town you were in? Did you get to go out and see?
Well,
the town?
How much hair did you dye during that time?
There were always people telling me what city I was in. Because after a while, literally at 8 shows a week, 2 shows on Saturday, 2 shows on Sunday, travel on Monday, press on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Good.
That's how
Nice.
I stayed in a couple of markets for a month. I stayed in Seattle for a month, and I stayed in Detroit for a month. Because a lot of those towns were big theater towns. A lot of people, I didn't know that, being from here, that there were, the theater. I was always.
You don't
growing
think
up
Detroit
playing.
has been a big theater town?
No, I didn't think that. I didn't think Detroit was at all. But they have some.
I bet that was a month to remember.
Well, it was. We had some fun up there.
How about in the music genre? Obviously, American Idol. When you won that one, and now it opens up a whole, because all these celebrities and musicians watch American Idol a lot of times with their kids and things.
Hoping they'll feature their songs.
Really. Who were some of the biggest names that because you went, man, I cannot believe that I'm meeting this person. You even got to perform with some.
I had a great moment with Rod Stewart. I had a few. I'd listened to some of his music growing up and learned from it. Like some of the stuff that he did early when he was 18, 19, 20 years old was some stuff that I listened to all my life and studied. So what the show didn't really, they had to edit, but every singer, basically, like Barry Manilow, Rod Stewart, I would come out, like before I would ever meet them, the cameras would be rolling, and I never met them before, but I would sing a song that I knew that they would know, that they would know that I studied them as artists.
And
a lot of others,
they were blown away.
I would go deep cut on them. And
So you didn't go band stage?
No, I didn't go band. No, I went deep cut on them every time. Like, I did.
I thought when you sang the McDonald's jingle, that was cool.
Yeah, the Gasoline Alley by Rod Stewart. Was carry me back down the gasoline alley.
He didn't know what to do with that.
He went. And I knew if I could get them with a song, a deep cut on them when the mentors came on, because I'd studied so much music, if I knew if I'd hit them with a deep cut, I had them, and whatever they did, they would do something and gloat about whatever I was singing about. Because it was funny, like some of the producers on Idol, when I was on that show, we would get in such an in-depth conversation about their music and, because I'd waited years and dreamed about these situations my whole life, that when I got into that situation, I wasn't letting anybody tell them, going to pull the plug. So we just started talking. I mean, we just, and finally they were like, "Hey, come on, Taylor, just sing your song."
Right.
Do your thing.
When you walk into a room, though, and you're singing Gasoline Alley and there's Rod Stewart, I mean, like I say, that does beat down that uncomfortable moment of just meeting them. And suddenly you're talking about stuff.
I knew I had to break the ice, especially because, the mentors that are on the show, when they come on and they mentor your music and your singing, you got to play every angle that you can before you you know, it's a game.
See, that's where you outsmarted some of those folks. They were just there and trying to sing, and hey, somebody told me I could sing. I mean, you had experience to know to do that. It is a job.
Yeah, and it is a process. And you brilliantly played the voting process of trying to tap into a audience that American Idol really didn't have. And that was those of us that were reluctantly sitting there with the kids going, and all of a sudden we're like, "Ooh, here's our guy." You know, and I mean, you did a great job playing to a fan base that really took you through the whole thing.
I tell you what, it's funny. People tell, you know, my grandmother, some of my aunts called out and, you know, down in Dadeville, Alabama.
Oh, yeah. We heard from all of them.
Oh, yeah. And they always told me, they said, you know, my television, you know, you know, the sound on my television's not all that great. I'm not going to lie to you. This television I've had is about 20 years old. And I thought to myself, there might be televisions all over the country that might not be good. So when it's time to play that funky music, white boy, I mean, you better fall down on the floor and flail and do something visual to stimulate the audience, because your grandmother's TV sound might not be good.
That's a good. You know what? So, I'm watching you.
Grandmothers like to see you frail too.
And I can't. Right. All I got in my mind is this is the face of Rick and Bubba Jerky. I mean, this guy knows how to sell. He knows how to market. This is the guy.
Yes.
Now we can't afford him, but he's the guy.
Right.
We can always work out a deal. Come on now.
My goodness. I mean, see, because there's so much more to it. And too many people in our business, we go through this all the time. They think, well, I've got a good voice or I can do a good show, and I'm not going to work. I'm not going to play the game. I'm not going to shake the hands. I'm not going to grip and grin. I'm so talented, it ought to just work out. Well, no, there's tons of talented people, tons of gifted people. It's the ones who are willing to work, willing to be aggressive, and willing to go get it that end up persevering. We said it over and over. Perseverance is much more important than talent. There's a lot of talented people that can't persevere.
Yeah, persistence is key. You just got to be either really smart enough to do it or just really dumb enough to love it a lot.
Right, you have to. You're right.
You know?
Either we were so goofy that when people told us we were terrible, it just didn't matter. I mean, those people told us things that frankly should have put us in the fetal position in the corner. You know, crying.
You read my email later.
Right. I'm going back to be a freeloader. What am I doing here? Well, I think too, I was also driven by the fact that I was really haunted by a real job.
Yeah. You know, I tried a real job and I didn't like it.
Me too.
I mean, I was like, man, I'm telling you, this didn't help me decide what I want to do, but it helped me mark one off the list of what I don't want to do.
I cannot underscore being a weed removal technician at the golf course one summer, how much that influenced my life.
Well, I knew I was done at the great...
I'm not cut out for this job.
No, I knew, Taylor, that I was done at the great company UPS when the preloaders had to report at 3:45 a.m., and he told me, he said, you know how many times you'd be late? I said, how many? I thought there was a number. Like, you know, being in school, so many cuts you could take. He said, never. I said, never? He said, you can never be late. And I thought, boy, this is not long. And by the way, if you sleep in a truck that you're supposed to be loading.
Yeah, they count that as being late.
Thumbs down.
It counts as two, actually.
Hey, Hoss, get your stuff. I knew that. It didn't mean I was getting a break. Taylor Hicks, what a pleasure. Always good to talk.
Appreciate that, guys.
Continue success. If you leave us, have a good day. You got more. Stick around.
Rick and Bubba.